this time, I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Stokes County Board of Commissioners for Monday, February 14th, 2022. I'm going to ask Vice Chair Barney Castle to lead us in the invocation.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we come to you today, Lord. We thank you for your many blessings. Thank you for another day of life. Thank you for another beautiful day. Go with us, Lord, as we conduct business for the county and our citizens. We pray, Lord, that everything will be pleasing to you. We also pray for our men and women who are on forward, so our military. Put your hand up on them and bless them, Lord. Go with us and guide us in your name. Amen.
Amen. Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, I'm going to ask for a motion to approve the agenda. Are there any additions or corrections to the agenda?
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion, we approve the agenda as is.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, and the next item on the agenda is public comments. Have a sign-in sheet. Each speaker will be allowed 4 minutes for public comments with the option to yield time to another speaker or add an optional minute depending on the number of speakers that have signed up, abiding by the 30-minute total time limit. All speakers shall maintain good decorum, show respect and good manners. Vulgar language, profanity, inappropriate gestures, insults, personal attacks, accusations, and inflammatory language is prohibited. All comments should pertain to relevant matters within the board's authority and jurisdiction. No campaign speeches are permitted. The chairman of the board shall enforce the rules. Anyone not complying with these rules shall not be allowed to continue. At their discretion, members of the Board of County Commissioners may address items from the public comments portion of the meeting during the commissioner comment period. All right, the first person signed up to speak is Emily Ann Williams. If you would state your name, address when you come up to speak.
Hello, I'm Emily Ann Williams. I live at 1871 Pine Hall Road in Pine Hall. Thank you for allowing me to speak to the county commissioners, county manager, and citizens. I'd like to talk about the broadband problem. Y'all may call it an issue, but I think for kids in school, all the way from elementary, all the way up to college level, we need better broadband. The other night, I had a little tiny 2-paragraph email I was trying to send out, and it wouldn't go. And I have the fastest broadband for Pine Hall, which is HughesNet. We have a problem with, there may be a problem with the company that's dealing with this issue. It seems to me, I've been talking to people throughout the county, and they say that the company indicates this problem dealing with the geographic issues of the terrain. Maybe they need to have a seismologist on their staff and some better equipment. I'm not a seismologist. I'm a retired psychologist and program developer. But I do understand that, you know, when you're dealing with rocks, I have them on my property. You need those kind of specialists and special equipment. And they may need to reach out and hire those people if they haven't already, or at least have them as consultants. I understand that they've been working on this for quite a long time. I'm not sure, it seemed to me the way people talk, but I haven't seen any records, so I don't know when people say a long time, what they mean by long time and what I think of long time, if they're the same. But it seemed to me that, I understand that's who y'all are thinking about going with, this company. Maybe a clarification of what time limit they're thinking is needed, if y'all are thinking about going with this company. Because really, even before the federal money came down to the state, and there's two pots. One's federal, that's going to be dealt directly from people in the county, directly with the federals, through an RFP, request for proposal, or directly to the state, where you deal directly with the state. This was an issue long before that. And county commissioners across the United States, when they're creative and they want to reach out and help their citizens, they've been dealing with this in some counties long before this money was put out. So this would have been a creative way that, maybe you all have been working on. And I say that to encourage y'all to think about for future issues. Because even before the feds do anything, y'all could be ringing your bell even before they think about it. Because if not, some young person or people will be putting their names in the pie to be elected for the positions of county commissioners. They're going to be up and coming. We have a Republican in the federal level who's pretty young. He's a Republican who's very, very young, and he's been elected. I feel like the broadband's really critical, not just for me, but for children, to make it through the process of getting through schools. We don't have a Library of Congress in our backyard. We don't have libraries like big cities have. So the internet is critical for helping our kids get through schools. And my time's up. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I hope I'll see something about what you're doing.
Thank you. All right. Next person signed up to speak is Billy Hickman.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Afternoon.
I'm
Hey,
not
Billy.
used to speaking, so I actually Goinstown. I live on the Goinstown Road, 1849. And I lived on this road my whole life. I lived right off of 770 until I was 16. And my dad built a house on Ashton Road. After 16, we moved out there. So we were right around the curve from this here Vickfield Church Road. And my daddy and mama kept me up and down that road when I was a baby. And I lived on this road. I walked up and down to a little schoolhouse. And me and my brother, this lady back here, walked down to that church for a long time. And this road is really important. That road been, I think it's over 200 years. My grandfather used to live right out on the old house. And then my brother used to stay with him some. And my aunt lived right down the road, but this man owned all the land for about 30 years. And he just got rid of everybody and let the houses fall down. But this road is important to us. I go down it, I don't know how many times a week. I go to Madison a lot of times. I just go down that road because I'm just used to doing this. And I ain't never lived off it except when I went to the military for 2 years. I don't just. I'm sorry.
All right. The next person that is signed up to speak is Bobby Hickman.
My name is Bobby Hickman, and I live at 1409 Goldentown Road, St. Louis, and I lived on that road all my life. I love Stokes County. Never wanted to move out, so I'm
Victor Hill Church Road, I have a little diagram of what it is. This is the road now, well, it goes, 770 goes up here. Victor Hill Church Road goes up here, it's 5 miles and 2/10 long. And, Victor Hill, Church Road goes right here, and goes in the Goinstown Road. You come down here, and you hit the Bennett Road, and you keep on up over here, and you come back to the Goinstown. It's a circle. Because part of this road out, you ain't got a circle. But, every year, when it gets warm, people walk around. They take the children. They walk that 6 mile around there. Saturday after, the next day after you, 5 four-wheelers come up. 2 grown people, 3 little kids, and they're riding little small four-wheelers. They come around that they're having the biggest thing. Now, don't you see, if you had to go out and get on Saturday, children wouldn't have been living. But they walk around all the time. They ride motorcycles, bicycles, whole families walk around from time to time. And let's see. Well, in the summertime, a whole lot of them have a tractor and a trailer. They load the kids up, come around there. Because it's around. They can't come around and turn back and go. It needs to be stayed open where you can travel out. Probably travel that 6 times this week. And you were with women a couple of times. So, this is 770 coming out. This is the Goinstown Road here. And the emergency service uses this, the Goinstown Road. When I have a wreck, you have a wreck up here, they come down here and turn the traffic in here. They can go down the Victor Hill Church Road or keep on and go out on the Bennett Road. So it was critical for safety and everything else. So, and Goinstown Road, we've been all our lives. Robert Schaefer owned that in 2002, and we wanted it paid. And we went and talked to him, and he stubborn. He didn't want it. He loved animals more than he did people. So he put everything in the forestry thing where the tax would be as high. So we kept on, and he liked us. He wouldn't do it for nobody else. He signed the paper for it to be paved. That road wouldn't be paved. Me and my brother had just kept on, and Mike Schaffner was head man on the road then, and I talked to him. Okay.
Thank you. All right, the next person that signed up to speak is Kathleen Edwards.
Good evening, everyone. I'm sad to see Andy's not back yet. Is he okay?
He's out of town on a business trip.
Oh, okay. My name is Kathleen Edwards. I live at 1726 Rogers Road, Mount Airy. That's in Stokes County. The updates to the ordinance that were, the animal control ordinance, the updates that were passed in April 2021 did not go far enough in raising minimum standards of care for chained dogs. Those updates still leave the most vulnerable members of our community out in the cold to suffer alone for years on end. Winter is extremely painful for chained dogs. Summer months are no picnic either. In In summer months, water bowls are frequently overturned by chains and cables, leaving many dogs dehydrated. Biting flies in summer and fall relentlessly attack the ear tips of chained dogs until they are often raw and bloody. If you have ever had a dog, then you know that they feel many of the same emotions that we as people feel. They delight in our company. They grieve when we leave. Dogs left outdoors all year suffer both physically and psychologically. Dogs left alone on chains suffer deeply from lack of interaction. They are frustrated, lonely, anxious, sad, and feel abandoned. Abandonment is something they feel very keenly. There are many good laws out there that afford dogs protection against neglect. This county is living in the dark ages when it comes to the basic protection of man's best friend. Dogs who live their lives on chains don't understand why they're being excluded from the only family they know and the only home that they have. Dogs possess an immense capacity for suffering. In Stokes County, we have created a haven where people can escape their responsibility for owning a dog. The situation in this county requires your immediate attention. Turning a blind eye will not improve the situation. Imagine for a moment being forced to eat, sleep, and live in the same tiny patch of mud where you urinate and defecate every single day. Our county's sheriff's department has a policy of giving neglectful dog owners 72 hours to get into compliance with the law. Policy and law are two different things. The county's current policy allows dogs to suffer in substandard conditions for up to 3 days before any meaningful effort is made to relieve their suffering. 3 days is too long, especially in winter. The ordinance needs to be updated to provide a legal remedy for criminal abuse in the short term. As a community of caring, compassionate people, we must take action. When officers go out and find dogs in impossibly cruel circumstances, they should not simply walk away and leave those dogs to suffer for up to 3 days longer than they already have suffered. You and we owe the dogs in our communities a responsibility of protection from neglect and abuse. They cannot protect themselves from owners who ignore them, mistreat them, starve them, or allow them to freeze to death. Stokes County needs to ban the year-round chaining of dogs because it is cruel. You five are this county's leaders. If you want to see economic development, someone among you five ought to spearhead a plan to protect the most mistreated, most vulnerable, and most visible members of this community that we all call home. In the near future, I will again, for the 5th year in a row, be proposing language that can be added to the existing ordinance to bring an end to the cruel practice of chaining. Thank you for your kind attention. And Shannon, would you be so kind as to give these copies to Amber for me? Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
Hope everyone has a safe trip home. And thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next person signed up to speak is Kim Greenwood.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, good evening. My name is Kim Greenwood. I'm at 4828 NC Highway 89 in Westfield. I'm here on behalf of the town of Walnut Cove. Mayor Brown is with me tonight, and ours is just a kind of a visit just to tell everybody hello and thank y'all for doing a wonderful job that you do. I know that we deal with a lot of the county's departments from administration to the sheriff's office, our fire marshal, techs, various departments that we depend on for our town to run. And I think you already know it, but y'all have an excellent staff, and everybody in every department does an excellent job. And we're just so very thankful for that. The mayor had mentioned earlier tonight, she said, well, you know, what benefits Walnut Cove benefits Stokes County, and what benefits Stokes benefits Walnut Cove. So we are just here as a friend, and just to thank y'all for being our friend, and if there's anything Walnut Cove can ever do, please let us know. But thank you for excellent job. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. All right. Next person signed up to speak is Nathan Duggins.
Duggins, yes,
Okay.
ma'am. Madam Chair, I'm Nathan Duggins. I'm an attorney from Greensboro. I'm here on behalf of Carroll Farm Operations. Mr. Carroll is here. You can raise your hand, Mr. Carroll. We're here on the agenda item, the discussion agenda item about the abandonment of Victory Hill Church Road. Here to answer any questions. I think the board and council and the county manager is aware that there's going to need to be a public hearing for this matter at some point. But we saw it on the agenda tonight and wanted to be here if there were going to be any questions. I think y'all can review your packet and see that there's been a number of folks within your community who have checked off on the EMS, the fire issues. And I wanted to also assure the board that Mr. Carroll owns, or the LLC owns both sides of all the property that's on the north side of the road and also on the south side. And there are no other property owners that will be impacted in terms of being adjacent to the road that's being requested. We have talked to NCDOT, and as you know, they're comfortable with the road closure both in Rockingham County and in Stokes County. So just here to answer any questions if the board has any. Otherwise, I'll waive the balance of my 4 minutes and not hear the timer go off.
Thank you. We'll, I'm sure if you stick around for the discussion, on the discussion agenda, there may be questions
Absolutely.
at that time.
We will definitely stick around.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
All right. Move on to the next person is Anna Oleski, sorry. You can correct it when you speak.
Hey there, I'm Anna Belinsky. I'm at 741 Bennett Road. I'm on the county line. My residential road connects to Victory Hill Church Road that's requesting to be closed. I oppose the road abandonment. It's concerning that this request to close the road comes 6 months after land ownership by a resident of Guilford County. He doesn't live in the area or daily drive these roads. The community did several petitions of individuals living on the road or connecting the road. There are 84 signatures, and there are 71 households against this closure, and I'm speaking on behalf of all of them. Mr. Schaefer, the landowner prior to Mr. Carroll, was denied closure of this road by both Rockingham County and Stokes County in 1998, 2009, and 2012. This road is a connector road. It's been a public gravel road that predates 1930. It's older than any of us here in this room. It's a through road. It's not a dead-end road. In 1998, a letter to the DOT district engineer stated that, and I'm going to quote this road does not meet the criteria for abandonment since it serves approximately 40 vehicles a day, and as a connecting road, it has the potential of providing access for emergency and other public service vehicles, mail, garbage collection, delivery trucks, etc. The Stokes County Board unanimously agreed to deny the request due to the road being a through road in both Rockingham County and Stokes County. In 2012, comments from the GIS tax administrator, Jake Oakley, are as follows. Victory Hill Church Road is a rural highway considered a through connection, not a dead-end road. Typically, approved road abandonments have not involved thoroughfares, but only dead-end accesses. In my opinion, the effectiveness and speed of response of emergency services to this area could be adversely affected if this request was approved. Recommendation would be for Stokes County to deny the request for abandonment of this section of Victory Hill Church Road in Stokes County. Comments from the planning director, David Suttereth, are as follows. Very important to maintain connectivity in the state road system, allows the maximum accessibility for emergency response vehicles and alternate routes in case of unforeseen road closures. Comments from the emergency communication director, Dale Hall, are as follows. If Stokes County Communications Center receives a call from Rockingham County Communications Center requesting emergency assistance from Stokes County Fire Departments, EMS, and/or Sheriff's Office in the area of Victory Hill Church Road, the abandonment of this road would cause a delay in the response of Stokes County to assist. This road is historically a road that Stokes County Fire, Medical, and law enforcement responders are familiar with as a through road to travel for mutual aid requests from Rockingham County. Would cause a delay in response from the communication center and first responders' response in an emergency situation to calls which Victory Hill Church Road is the quickest route of travel. Again, there's 84 signatures and 71 households in the direct vicinity that oppose this closure. And I want to read a few comments that the opposers said. The road has been opened ever since I've been born 65 years ago. Closing this road will cause a hardship to residents who normally use this section of Victory Hill Church Road. I've used this road for 52 years. We use this road for exercise, walk, and ride bikes. Been doing it all of our lives. I oppose any changes that would increase traffic on local road. Would it be legal to buy the land on both sides of any highway that has been public use for years and state maintained and close it down for personal use? Again, 84 signatures and 71 households in direct vicinity that oppose this closure. And they have direct ties to this road specifically. Thank you guys for your time.
All right. There's no one else signed up for public comment, so this time I'll close that portion of the meeting. And I will turn to our commissioners and manager for comment, starting with Commissioner Morris.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. First of all, I'd like to welcome everybody here tonight. We appreciate you coming out and participating in our local government process. Good to see the mayor here again from Walnut Cove, always. I'd also like to make a couple of comments on the comments that were made by Emily concerning the broadband. We're going to be discussing that tonight and putting together a committee to address the broadband issue. But the good news is that we really have what I would say is unexpected money available to fix this problem. We have the American Rescue Plan funding, which the county's supposed to get $8 million total for that, which can be used for broadband. And then there's also state funding that you mentioned that's available, I think $500 million now that's going to be available for that across the state, and some additional money beyond that, I think. The other part of it is that we have sent out a request for proposals already, and we have our proposals back. They came in like a couple weeks ago, and we got, I'm not sure how many, but I know there's more than one proposal for the broadband for providers to actually fix that problem you're talking about. And the focus of the funding, I think pretty much across the board, is to get the folks that are unserved, not folks that already have high-speed internet. So I think that's the approach we'll be taking. That's what was in our RFP, and we'll be evaluating those and selecting somebody pretty soon and getting on with the process. And as soon as we open the proposals, then we'll have an idea of how quickly these providers can actually provide the service, because that will be part of their proposal. So I think we're in a good situation compared to a lot of other counties in the state by already having our proposals back and having this funding that we really didn't expect to have, that we can apply to this problem. So with that's all I have, Madam Chair.
All right. Commissioner Mendenhall.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just want to say thank you to everybody here tonight. and say that I would like to acknowledge the number of people here. Some nights when it's cold and windy like this, we don't have but 2 or 3 people here. And to look out into the room and acknowledge and see about 20 to 25 people, I'm just very pleased because we work for you. We work for y'all. You don't work for ourselves. We're here to try to help every citizen in Stokes County. And that's our job, and hopefully we do the best job we can. And I just want to say to all the people that's watching us on live stream tonight, thank you for watching. And just as Commissioner Moore said, I want to say thank you for being a participant in the governmental process. It's not just 5 people sitting up here. We have 46,000 and some odd people that lives in Stokes County. I would tell you how long I've lived here, but I'd be telling my age, but 65 years I've lived in this county. And I'm 65 years old, so that shows you how much I think of Stokes County. And I just think, I don't know if you don't live in this county and you're here visiting tonight, I just think you're missing out on one of the most beautiful counties anywhere in America. And that's all I have, Madam Chair.
All right. Vice Chair?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to let y'all know, I'm not that old. I'd like to wish all the ladies happy Valentine's Day. I know a lot of you could be somewhere else tonight, but you chose to come out for the local government, and I commend the people who have spoke tonight, who came out about the Victory Hill Church Road. It's good to see our citizens get involved in stuff like this. So, with that being said, Madam Chair, thank y'all for being here.
All right. And I'd like to wish everybody a happy Valentine's Day, not just the ladies.
Well, I ain't wishing them in.
But no, I mean, maybe it got some of you out of having to take somebody out tonight for Valentine's. I don't know. But anyway, we really appreciate you being here and spending time with us tonight. And we do have several items that were brought up. Commissioner Morris touched on the broadband that Ms. Williams mentioned, and that is something that we've been working on for far too long, that should have already been a little farther progressed than it is. And it's our hope that in the next coming year that with this request for proposals, we're a little bit ahead of a lot of other counties in the state by already having that done, and putting this committee together is the next step of looking at these proposals and going ahead and moving forward with trying to provide better broadband for the whole county, but especially the areas in the rural parts of the county that are not served right now. So that I appreciate you bringing that to us and reminding us how important that is. And it's definitely something that we're trying to address as soon as we can. I appreciate Mayor Brown being here and Town Manager Greenwood, and we do look forward to working with you guys moving forward. We have a great working relationship with the municipalities, and we're really thankful that we do have that good working relationship. So we've got a full agenda, and we're going to just keep moving on, but I'll let our manager, Shannon Shaver, address you.
Welcome to everybody here. It's nice to see a full room. I know most people in the room. I know some of you are here about different things, and I hope you'll find your time here well spent and productive, and feel free to reach out if you don't get the answers you're looking for. After this meeting, I'll be happy to talk to anybody. I spent some time this week. I spoke with Ms. Williams on the phone for a while about our internet issues, and we had a good conversation about that. I'm glad to see that you're here. And I got to meet a couple of people I had not met before in Sandy Ridge, the Hickman brothers, Bobby and Billy, and then Miss Anna back there, and spent some time with them this week, which was nice. So we always appreciate you coming out and want to hear what you have to say, and feel free to reach out, and we can help you any way we can. So.
All right. Now I'll read the conflict of interest statement. Before moving any further, does any board member have a conflict of interest with any of the items on the agenda for tonight, or one that could be perceived as a conflict of interest?
No.
All right. And We'll move on with the consent agenda. That includes the minutes of the January the 24th regular meeting, the February the 1st planning meeting, budget amendments, and the tax office items for approval. Are there any questions about any of those items?
I have one question, Madam Chair. Julia, on the, excuse me, on the Budget Amendment 69, where you did the program review, did y'all put, I just want to make sure I'm clear on this, did y'all put $454,000 back in the general fund, or were we, or was the opposite? The opposite, okay. Okay, so we're over budget 454 versus recouping 454.
You can see the line item, the departments that affects.
Yeah, I looked through those. Okay, that's my only question.
All right. Now I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve our consent agenda as is.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Our information agenda, and that's the interest rate reduction, and Finance Director Julia Edwards will present that.
Yes, Andrew Carter, our, with DEC Associates, our financial advisor, has been looking at this, and Truett has agreed to lower the Nexi Rentals interest rate from 2.89 to 2.20, which will be about a $5K annual savings, and over the 8 years remaining on the debt, it'd be about $235K savings. He also looked at some other reductions. The Lawsonville one wouldn't be that, he says, wouldn't be enough money to do that. It just wasn't enough savings there. There will be some costs. We don't have, LGC has to prove the rate reduction, but we don't have to do an application fees with that. But there will be some bond attorney and DEC, and I will be reviewing what bond attorney. But I was just wanting to let the board know that I'm foreseeing this reduction. And,
Okay.
county saved some money.
So Julia, what you're saying basically is they have surmised what is in front of them as far as our debt goes, and the one area, the one thing out of our debt is the Nancy Reynolds community and the community college debt.
They have looked
Nothing
at all
else.
of it.
Okay. And we
They
found
look
one.
at it periodically anyway for us, and with the rates lowering and everything, he's been looking at it, talking with the banks to see what they'll do, and that's the one,
That's one item that they found.
he's just saying the Lawsonville school wouldn't be enough to even pull the cost of having to do it.
Gotcha. So we don't need to take any action on this. This is just for our information.
I just wanted to give y'all
Okay.
information that I was proceeding.
All right.
with this.
Sounds good.
All
Any
for
other
it.
questions?
I'm all for it.
Yeah, sounds good. All right, thank you, Julia. The next item on the discussion agenda, the first item on the discussion agenda is the courthouse needs an expansion. Ms. Shaver?
I don't have a lot of new information on this as far as what we discussed at the last meeting, so there's still all the information that was on the last time as far as the plans from Perry on what could happen with the expansion and the remodeling. The only thing that I did obtain from Perry at your request was to try to get a price on what it would cost to remodel that house on the hill that probation is using if you were to rehome Board of Elections there. That's not nothing is for sure, just some ideas. With the current time and how much materials are costing and all that, and trying to take into account, we'd have to probably do plans from upstairs on that, because we'd be removing walls, putting down new flooring, some additional parking, some electrical work, and our staff would do the part they could do as far as the demo, even maybe reconstructing some of the rooms, what Jason would need for space there. Perry's best estimate on that would be in the ballpark of $100,000 to do all of that work, including all the fees, all the, the plans, everything that have to be done. And that's with our staff doing a lot of the work as far as demoing and all that. So that's the number we got on that. Other than that, I don't have much else on this unless I know you all have had some information you might want to discuss about some other things to do with that plan. So.
Right. I think we've all received some concerns from the Board of Elections, their board, from the Board of Elections about the space being adequate in that, even if it's renovated. And I think that's something we're just going to have to take a closer look at to see and just maybe brainstorm a little bit about other alternatives should we choose not to renovate that space for them. What else is there that's an option? Do you want us to just have Shannon look into that and bring us any more ideas? I don't think we're ready to make any decisions.
And I
on
mean,
this.
we're pretty much having this conversation because they're out of space in the courthouse. So this is sort of our issue is we don't really have a lot of space to relocate anybody to. So we're sort of trying to look outside the box a little on that. I think, did I see Jason here? Perry, did you see here? So I think one thing that Jason and I might be able to do and talk about is look at that space together, see if it would, accommodate them from their perspective. Also see how much space that you currently have that maybe is just being used for storage. We have a lot more storage available now with the new storage building on the hill, plus the old garage turned into a really nice storage space.
Right.
So if anything there could be housed off-site and be locked away for storage purposes and still be able to use the office space.
Right.
Those are questions I don't know the answers to, but Jason might could answer those.
Well, I will say that being that elections and election fraud is such a big topic and a big thing that and we want to keep all of our elections, stuff under lock and key. I think you'd have to be very careful where you and what kinds of things you locked up in another place. I mean, obviously, the equipment, the machines, and that kind of thing would have to be kept wherever Jason is on a daily basis and not off-site anywhere. But I don't know what other things is stored down there that could be stored. When I say off-site, I just mean not in the same building as the Board of Elections might be in, and I don't know. But for security reasons, obviously, I think we'd have to be really careful about that. Whatever we stored off-site and whatever, and that would just be a matter of, I think, the two of you looking through everything and I don't even know what's all down there, but.
Yeah, what could be stored and what couldn't be. So.
Yeah, just to see, and again, getting a better idea of, it's really hard when you look at that space with all the walls that are in there now to determine how it could look renovated and if there would be adequate space. But I think they do need a place for early voting and that kind of thing there. And when his board meets, he'll need space for their board meetings and things. So, I don't know.
We haven't really discussed further on leaving them in the courthouse, or they'd have to be locations probably for if this is approved ever and you go forward with this. But I don't know that it's as desirable for them to remain in the courthouse moving forward because of the new security measures. It's not that convenient maybe for people to go to a vote or do something to change something in their registration to have to go through a security system to get in there, and that's going to be what's happening in that building now.
I think you could look at how many visitors a day does he normally have, and if it's 5 or 6, then it wouldn't be as big of a deal to go through security to get there. But when it's early voting, I think if you left them in the courthouse, you would definitely have to consider moving the early voting site to a different place in Danbury.
Yeah, I agree.
That's more feasible.
Talk about that.
And that could work too. An off-site early voting place could work potentially and alleviate that problem if we decided to just leave them in the courthouse. If we're wanting to expand and we can, when we talked to Harry Peterson about it, that whole downstairs lobby that we at first thought was going to be rooms, it sounds like he wasn't planning to put anything there. So maybe we could have him draw it up to where he could use that space and keep them where they're at. And it would just be the problem of, everybody be rerouted through the security upstairs.
Right.
But it might be worth it. Go ahead.
I have a couple comments, Madam Chair. I think probably, I went up and looked at the building the other day too, just because I couldn't remember exactly how it was configured. And I talked to a couple of the election board members, and I think they're sending a letter or something, right, for us to address these issues. But I think one thing we need to do is we really need to analyze, and as you figure out the solution to this, we need to analyze the voting process that occurs. All the moving of machines, moving them back, security things that you just mentioned, just to make sure that whatever solution we end up with fits with all of that process, because it is so closely watched by everybody. And so it really has to be a solid process, well-designed and well-executed. The other question I had was, when you guys talked about it, was there any issues with having the communications part of that building still stay there while you're doing elections? Because right now it has raised floors, I think, still where the cables go under.
Harry's plan was not to touch that communications area and to leave it completely alone where it's at. He said that would cost a lot to move that from there and relocate it anywhere.
Okay, but that doesn't create any issues with the voting, the two of them being together or anything?
It would just be locked away from any of that area.
Okay. And I wondered if you had any thoughts about Autumn Square. Is it still all leased out to everybody?
There's no space there. The only thing, the county office that we have there is the fire marshal's office, which we moved 2 years ago to accommodate. They moved out of that juvenile justice space downstairs and moved to there in a vacant area. But everything else is rented.
Oh, okay. It's just an easy access in and out and everything, if it happened to have space. I forgot the fire marshal moved over there, so. Okay, I just thought that, that's all I have basically for now.
I hate to say this because I don't want the fire marshals to get upset either, but, I think in talking about it, and Glenda actually mentioned this today because she was kind of brainstorming of it could be possible to maybe revamp that building and move the fire marshals there and possibly use the space that they have, a pretty large space at Autumn Square there that may be used for Board of Elections. That might be a thought process too.
You also have, is there still open space downstairs where you could use for storage that's not being used?
There is.
By the garage?
There is, back behind in that area back there.
It's probably worth looking at then.
That is something.
Yeah, it's worth looking at.
I'm sure they're all watching right now saying, you're going to move us again.
Just brainstorming a little bit.
But Glenda did mention that today, this morning, about she'd had that thought of what if we flipped them, that's one more place to move, but it is something that, and they have, just their 4 or 5 folks that work in there, but they're not really seeing a huge amount of public either, and don't have to worry about early voting or any of those things that go on with Board of Elections. So, might be a possibility.
I guess my summarizing statement would be that we need to take just as good a care of our elections department and office, but especially with the sensitivity of it, as we do with all the new court stuff that they're getting for the judges and everything. So
That's true. Anybody else?
Is the Goodwill still down at where the fire marshal's at?
Yes.
Do they utilize the space at, I understand I got there, they're not there that often.
They pay rent, so I don't know what they do in the space, but they pay rent. So,
have we paid for Autumn Square? Have we paid it off, Julia?
Yep.
Our original business model.
it's almost, it's close.
Right?
It's really close.
Original business model was to lease that space upstairs to pay for the building so that taxpayers wouldn't have to. And once we did that, then, we could still keep leasing it, or we could possibly look at other uses.
Our space.
Yeah, it's,
If need be.
we're close.
I like the revenue coming in from it. But
But you're right, I've heard the same thing, that they're not there a lot, but they've paid the rent there, so I don't know,
Okay. Well, I'm just gonna assume this will be back on our discussion agenda till we get it all figured out.
And I'll be, before we put it back on again, maybe it'll be on next time, but before we do, we'll be sure to iron out some of those things and get some of that info. So
All right.
we'll get back and have a lot of information.
Sounds good.
I do have one quick
Okay, go ahead.
question. The original, when Perry brought the drawings up, the original amount of money that we were looking at was I'm being close now, 7.5 million or something in that area.
It was.
Because I
it
said
was
6.5 and
6.5,
then he
and then
said,
he
oh
said
no, Ronnie, it's 7 something.
7 was his, not go over number, but 7 was his number.
7 million.
Yeah,
What the courthouse needs an expansion.
correct.
Because what we're looking at now is security was one of the judge's big things, was security.
Right.
And as our commissioners have said tonight, for the Board of Elections and the voting process, also to me, you're looking at security as one of the main things. So we're talking about security for the courthouse and security for the Board of Elections and the voting process.
Right.
So if we're talking about a little over $7 million for the courthouse expansion and its needs, did you bring up the $100,000 amount for
The house that's
the
currently being used for
renovations where we're
probation.
talking about?
Correct.
Because, I mean, I've been in that building several times, and I know it needs work. But did he use the term 100,000?
Yeah, I mean,
I'm talking about an estimate.
Yeah, that's a tentative estimate, yes. Yeah. That's taking into account new floors, electrical, taking into account our staff doing a lot of the work.
That we can take care of.
If we completely just paid it out of somebody else doing everything, Perry would figure it at $100 a square foot, which would come out to more like $200,000. But he said we could half that number because we have a very competent staff that's very good at demoing, putting up the walls, doing something we need done, that we could half that number to about 100,000.
But we're talking about being able to do the courthouse expansion and the courthouse needs and that building's needs for no more. I'm looking at you, Shannon, and saying no more than $8 million.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'm talking because you said 7.
Yep.
And now I hear just 100,000 or something, so it wouldn't go over 7.5 to 8 million at the most. Okay, thank you. That's all I have, Madam Chair.
All right. All right. So we'll be listening to having more discussion on that at a later date. The next item is the Broadband Committee discussion, and I'll turn that over to Amber.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So after the last Board of Commissioners meeting on January 24th, we took the recommendations of the board and created a proposed list of broadband committee members that would represent different groups in the community from different areas. So following North Carolina Department of Information Technology's list of suggestions for groups to include for this, these individuals listed would be best to represent their corresponding areas on the committee and have committed to serving on it if chosen by the board. To start, Stokes County Attorney Ty Browder to fill the local government.
Need the mic, you don't have a mic.
Usually it carries pretty far. There you go.
Okay. So these are the members that we have proposed for the broadband committee. Stokes County Attorney Ty Browder for the local government position, Emergency Communications Director Matt Bowles for public safety, Christine Bowles, Public Library Branch Manager for Walnut Cove for the libraries position, Karen Barker, Media and Technology Director for Stokes County Schools for the education slot, Health Director Tammy Martin for healthcare, Tori Mabe, Stokes County Tourism and Marketing for economic development, Cindy Tuttle, the Executive Director for the Stokes Partnership for Children for the nonprofits, and Jimmy Flythe, Duke Energy's Director for Local Government and Community Relations for West Region, North Carolina for the utilities and broadband providers. So this suggestion list by NCDIT also recommends that private citizens and others committed to the expansion of broadband internet in the community be included in the addition to businesses. So we advertised on the website directly following the last Board of Commissioners meeting on January 24th for 2 additional positions on this committee. One is the local business owner position, and one was the citizen of Stokes position. Applicants were required to be a Stokes County resident interested in and committed to the expansion of broadband in the county, and the application period closed Wednesday, February 9th. We received 4 applications during this time period, 1 for the local government, local business owner position, and 3 for the citizen of Stokes position. The local business owner position applicant was Belinda Nethercutt, and the 3 for the citizen of Stokes County position was Keith Wood, Tamitha Atkins Ford, and William Schweigart. And the board will need to choose a designee for the Citizen of Stokes position on the Broadband Committee, as there are 3 different applicants for this one position. And also
It's very hard to hear you.
I apologize, ma'am.
And you only had this on a website, you didn't put it in the local paper?
No, ma'am.
We have a public notices area for boards and committees. They've always been posted there for that. We spoke about this when I talked to you on the phone the other day about the broadband committee.
You just said broadband committee, you didn't say go to a website.
Right, well, okay.
You know, and I kept reading the paper, I kept getting the paper. Really, everybody that lives here doesn't know about your website, especially if they're new. You don't have a welcome committee that says, go to this website.
All right, Amber, if you'll continue, please.
And all I was going to say was, due to the April 4th deadline with NCDIT for the grant funding application, we will need the broadband committee to meet as soon as possible. So if we could move this item to action for tonight, that'd be great.
Okay, all
We
right.
just found out about that deadline from the NCDIT on a meeting we have with them on Wednesday.
Okay.
April 4th is that deadline for the grant funding application period.
All right, we will move this to action. But before we move it to action, do we need to do these 2 appointments?
Correct.
Okay,
First thing I think we need to do is get a motion to close nominations.
all right,
Madam Chair, I also have some questions about the committee, but we can do that after the nominations,
okay.
unless you want to do it first.
All right, I'm going to open the floor for further nominations for the 2 advertised vacancy, and then there are none, then I will need a motion to close.
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so for the spot with the individual for the business owner, seeing that there's only one, her name was Belinda Nethercutt. I'll entertain a motion to
Since we've closed, all you need to do is poll
hold the board on Nethercutt.
Yeah, we've closed nominations, so we can't add
Okay,
anyone else.
that's, okay, so for the position of local business owner,
Nethercott.
all right,
Nethercutt.
Okay.
okay, Nethercott, okay. The other one is the Citizens of Stokes County position. There are 3. Do we want to take them individually, or do we want?
You can do it a couple different ways. You can just vote on each individual, or you can just, each of you can choose your preference for that citizen appointment. Then you'll still need to move this to action and approve your list as put together. But I think the easiest thing would be for each just to go
Okay.
through and choose the citizen appointment that you're each choosing and see what the majority is for that.
Okay, all right. Do you have a preference?
Well, I have 2 that I've sort of requested that they take a look at this. That's Keith Wood, who's sitting out there, and also Tamitha. Both of their qualifications are equally the same based on the applications they put in. So I don't really have a preference over either one. I guess I'll do one of those 2, but I don't really have a way of figuring out which one. So,
Well, we'll come back to you then.
Come back to me.
Ron, what's your preference?
Okay, can you give me just 1 second to get back? Went out of that. Hold on just 1 second. My nominee would be William Schweigert. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Amber? William Schweigert?
I believe so.
That's who.
Okay, all right,
William Swaggart.
okay. And I'm going to go with the William Swigert as well. He had a lot of background in technology and seemed to know a lot about it, so,
I'll go with him too.
okay. All right, so William Swigert for the citizen to go on the committee. So, and we'll move all that to action and just approve it as a list is presented to broadband. Okay,
That way we can get a meeting scheduled and that committee can start on those RFPs.
okay. Sounds good. So that'll be item B on action. All right?
I have a question.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Thanks,
Sorry
Madam
about
Chair.
that.
Just a couple of questions. Who's chairing the committee? Are you guys co-chairing it? We talked about that, and I wasn't sure from reading the list here.
Right, so we wouldn't be voting members, of course, but Amber, myself, and Glenda would attend all the meetings, of course, and it'd just be Amber and I can talk about that, and one of us can chair that. If Amber would like to, I'd like to let her do it for some experience, because I do the animal one for our animal study group, so, and I'll be there as well, but if she'd be comfortable with that, I think she'd do a great job to share that.
Okay, and so Glenda will be there too?
Yes, because Glenda will need to be there as far as for all the procurement guidelines and all that.
Is there a reason y'all couldn't be voting members? Why couldn't you be?
Well, we were involved in the RFP process and putting all that together. I just talked to Ty about that ahead of time. And
Okay, well.
Sure, if it would be appropriate for Glenda, Amber, or I to vote on anything that we helped send out the RFP.
Oh, okay.
So we're just trying to steer clear of that part.
You think it's safer that way, Ty? Okay.
And Glenn Knox is also more than willing to come and advise and help, but he also, because of his position at DIT, can't be a voting member on anything.
Okay, good. So that my other question was about Glenda being on there, but if she's going to be participating, that takes care of that.
Yeah.
So my next question is, who's going to evaluate proposals, like you and Glenda
Well,
and Amber?
Yeah, we will, but I mean, we want a lot of feedback from this committee we're putting together for
Okay.
a good reason, so yes. And then we'll
So
make a
you'll probably,
recommendation.
maybe you'll evaluate them and then give them your recommendations, and they'll give you feedback on where they agree or not?
Yeah, because we have a pretty broad group that
That's
has
a
a lot
good way
of
to
different
do it.
level of expertise. I think we'll be able to get a lot of good feedback from them and be able to make a good recommendation to the
Mm-hmm.
board so we can get that funding.
Well, there's no magic number of how many people, I mean, used to, a lot of stuff, Danny just evaluated it, period, and made a recommendation to me when I was county manager, so. So however y'all evaluate it's fine, as long, and having that committee, agree with what you're doing would be, that's a good way to do it
We
then.
just want to, DIT specified wanting us to utilize that committee, so we just want to be sure that we're
Yeah.
following their guideline and taking that feedback from them too.
Okay, my next question is, I thought inside the NCDIT was talking about having a broadband provider on the committee, which could be the person you select. Would you add them later, maybe, after you select one of the proposals?
That was tricky because we have 3 proposals from 3 different broadband providers, and that one you'd end up having one person on the team when you're just looking at trying to select your RFP, so we.
I mean, after
Right,
you pick somebody. is what
Yeah, you
I'm
certainly
talking
could after you've picked somebody,
I mean,
but not prior to.
Not prior to,
Yeah.
of course, but I mean, it kind of makes sense to, I mean, Jimmy Fleiss, a really smart guy, but he's a utilities person, so if, I would say at least consider, once you select somebody's proposal, you really need them, I would think.
Well, and there's also a little bit of up in the air on, and DIT is a little bit not sure on this yet either, because I asked Lynn after the meeting we had the other day with them. There's 2 different ways to submit your grant application. Your provider can do it for you, they're on your behalf, or we can do it. So if we've already selected a provider before that deadline date, it might be beneficial for that provider to help do that process.
Yeah, the email that you sent me, or somebody did, that I think I forwarded you, said that the grant was open to providers.
Right.
Who's going to apply
It's
for
who
it.
normally applies for that funding, just like it's been in the past, as it
Yeah.
happened before. So that would be the ideal thing to happen, which is why we want to go ahead and get this part of this completed with the group, and then select
Yeah, that's
our
good, that's
providers.
great, that's a good plan.
And,
Because that provider would have the expertise probably and the staff and everything to do that and be used to, or familiar with doing it,
Right.
so.
Right. Because hopefully if we get a meeting with this group and get this done, no later than, I mean, maybe even, I don't know if we can accomplish it before the next meeting, but no later than the first meeting in March to move forward. But if we can get the group together, possibly we can meet before your next meeting and maybe have some information.
Yeah, and you're,
Give us
and
2 weeks to.
so you're on a schedule now with the committee and moving to action tonight and everything, so that you can meet that deadline for, is it April?
April 4th.
For that funding, okay.
So we want to get that as quickly as
That's the
we can.
important
Yes.
deadline to meet,
Yes,
so.
very, very
Yes.
important deadline. Right. So-
Okay,
Sounds
good.
good.
That's all I have, Mr.
All right,
Chair.
any other questions? All right, we're good to move on. Okay, so the next item is the Board of Adjustment reappointments, and you have information on that. I think all the members are basically up for reappointment.
I can present them if you want me to.
Go ahead.
So like you said, all vacancies for the Stokes County Board of Readjustments need to be reappointed. 3 of the members' terms expire this year: Amos Elvis, Dennis Robinson, and John Turpin. The other 2 terms expired last year for Marvin Kavanaugh and Stephen Jessup, but this board doesn't meet that frequently, so that wasn't an issue. All current members are willing to continue serving if reappointed by the board. There's also an alternate position that needs to be filled as well for the Board of Adjustments.
Okay. Is there any discussion on this?
question.
Go ahead.
When you say, Amber, that they don't meet that frequently, what is frequent? Is that once a year? Is that once every 2 years? Or is that once a month? Do you have any idea?
According to David Sutter, the planning director, he said that they met once in the past few years.
Once in the past few years?
Yes, sir. 2 to 3.
It's just as needed.
It's just as things come to the board that they need to meet.
So
to
no
discuss.
regular basis? It
No.
might be one time this year and not meet again for 2 years?
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Does this need to be moved to action today or be on action or consent at the next?
We just need to open the floor for further nominations
All right.
for all 5 members and the vacant alternate position as well, if y'all have an idea of somebody you'd like to nominate for that.
Okay.
I'm going to make a motion, since it's going to have to go to action at some point. I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to close nominations for these 5 that are listed in our paragraph.
All right.
Okay.
All those in favor? Aye. All right.
Just need to be moved to action for the next meeting, Madam Chair.
All right. So that's all we need to do for that tonight? Okay. All right. The item D is the abandonment resolution request for Victory Hill Church.
I can start that out. So we received a request from the NCDOT notifying us that a property owner had requested the abandonment of a portion of State Road 1632 Victory Hill Church Road. And they noted to us that this had been previously petitioned, and they attached the results from that petition, which you see on your agenda packet as well. They also attached copies of the current petition, the SR2 abandonment resolution, and a map noting the location of the road in question. I know you heard some comments here tonight about that road, and I think you've been discussing this with some citizens that have contacted each of you, as have I, with some citizens that have contacted us. You do have in your packet our typical way that we do this, which is I send it down to GIS mapping, and they then get signatures from all the departments as far as concerning public safety, planning and zoning, the tax office, communications, everything in there. And you'll see on your packet, they've all signed off on that to indicate they don't see it as a public safety hazard. So that part is in there for your review as well. Typically on these, you would discuss this, you would move it to action at the next meeting if you are considering moving forward or taking a vote on it. After that's done, you would adopt that resolution that the DOT has included, and then you would call a public hearing for this road closure to welcome any public comments on that as well. So I'll turn that over to you all at this point. And I know that the citizens are here from that community as well, as it sounds like the Carroll company that's making the request with the DOT is here as well, if you all have questions for those individuals.
Okay, all right. I'll start down here with Commissioner Morris, and do you have questions or any other concerns or comments?
Yeah, just one question. One of the maps that Greg put together, it shows the 2 parts with the part Rockingham, I think, is already voted on, and then our portion that we're being asked to look at. And it's probably a DOT question. We may need to have them come to the public hearing when we have it. But if we stayed open would they still close the Rockingham portion possibly? So, because I think it would then be a dead end road if you did that, based on the way this map looks. So that's one question I had. The only other comment I'd make is we've done a lot of these during the time I was county manager here for 9 years, where changing in ownership triggers a request like this, usually where one property owner is the only person surrounding the property. So this is a fairly common thing. We have a pretty good precedent of approving these things in the past where that was the circumstances. I think to kind of honor the property owner's rights once they own the property. So that's, about all I have to say until we can do the public hearing and finish the process or whatever.
Let me ask a question. So the only reason you would have a public hearing is if this board voted to close it? But if this board didn't vote to close it, there would be no public hearing.
Right. The last time that you took this subject up in 2012, the board voted not to close it, and there's no need to call a public hearing because you're no longer closing the road.
But it has to be moved to action to vote on it?
Correct.
Okay.
The action for the next meeting, right?
Next meeting, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Going back, did you say, I want to make sure I got this right. This has been brought up 4 times?
This is the 4th time.
4 times it's been brought to the commissioners' attention.
Correct.
Commissioners have voted not to close this road all 4 times, is that correct?
The first 3 times, yes.
Okay,
And I
this
can
is our
support-
4th time, so
Right.
first 3 times they voted to leave it,
Right.
is that
Right.
correct?
The last time was 2012.
2012. Was the vote in 2012 or 2013?
2012, October. I looked up the meeting from that. It was October the 22nd of 2012. When I think that was an excerpt of that Anna, I can't remember her last name, was reading the minutes from, was October of 2012.
And I looked back at the minutes. I did. I pulled them up. And I think the last time that it was turned, that they did not vote to close and they voted to leave it open, we had some of our people involved, like Jake Oakley and some others. Is that correct?
Yeah, David Sutter. At that time, you had Jake Oakley, tax administrator, David Sutter's planning and zoning director, and you had E911 director, Dill Hall at the time, who spoke and gave recommendations on what they thought at that time, at that meeting in 2012.
Which was the 3rd time.
Right. And that was prior to that process that we have now where we send around that sheet for each department to sign off on. So.
And we have change of ownership since that time.
Yes. I think the gentleman that was requesting that back then, his last name was Schaefer, maybe. And that was all 3. I think all the requests were made from that same landowner.
I want to make
Yeah.
sure
Oh,
I got
yeah.
all my facts
Yeah.
straight before, as we go through this. So this would be our 4th time. First 3 times they did not. We have a different owner now.
Correct.
And he has brought this back to us.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's all I need to know at this point. I may have some more questions. in a minute.
Have we, in the history of our county, ever closed a through road?
Now, Commissioner Morris is stating when he was county manager, they've closed a lot of roads that were possibly through roads. Richard Brim and I went back, because I anticipated that question being asked. Richard Brim and I went back about 10 years through some records through GIS, and all we could find then were some dead-end roads that had been closed. Doesn't mean they haven't been done, we just have not found the record of those. If somebody can point me in the direction of some roads they know of that are through roads, I'll gladly research it. But all that Richard come up with in their office, they have the part to do on the road closures as well, so he keeps all those records there. We could just find the dead-end roads that have been closed in the past 10 years.
And that was my original question. This will be a dead-end road if they close the Rockingham portion, right?
Yeah, I don't think
I mean,
it's
I
ever
think-
happened either that one piece has been closed by the county. This is kind of something that doesn't usually happen. And I don't know the answer to what would happen if you don't approve it and they approved it, if it just
That's a DOT question. We need to ask
That's a DOT
DOT
question.
that, yeah.
Correct. That's a DOT question.
It won't be a through road then.
Yeah. But in the history of what I've looked back 10 years, what Richard and I looked together, we could not find a through road that's been closed, if that answers your question. And that's as far as we've looked back.
But it was a through road until Rockingham
Correct.
approved it at their meeting, correct?
Yes.
It was about a month ago, I guess.
Yes, in January, yes.
Well, with the earlier request, was there a single property owner that owned all the property around it like this, or?
Yeah, it sounded like it was a single property owner. The Schaefer gentleman owned all the same property. That's my understanding.
Need to double check on that.
Yeah, that's what the DOT, I think the DOT, from your meeting from the last time, it was the one property owner making the request, but we can, so.
Is there any idea why they want it closed now?
All we have is the thing from the information from the DOT stating that the property owner has requested to close that road. I don't have any information on why closure. That's not anything that we get information on.
Right, okay. Well, it's just interesting to me that Dale Hall in 2012, who was, emergency communications person, suggested that it remain open for, that it would present a problem for emergency vehicles and if you had an accident where you had to reroute traffic and things, that it would need to stay open, because I don't think in 10 years, I don't understand what would have changed that. I know we have a different person in that position now, Matt Bowles, I'm guessing is who's, I looked at that, but it's just interesting that they all suggested it remain open in 2012. And I don't know what would have changed to all of a sudden have a different opinion about that, but I don't know. So do you want us just to put this on action for the next meeting? I mean, is there anything else that we need other than to know?
To verify if that property was all owned by the same
Person in
last time this was
2012,
requested.
and what DOT would do
If you didn't approve your portion, what would happen to the portion?
right, that's the two questions I think we have.
Yeah, compare the current ownership to the previous ownership.
Okay. We
And
can-
also what Rockingham, did you just say what Rockingham
Would do,
would do if they approve their part and not our part?
okay, all right.
Yeah.
If we can get those questions asked, then we'll have this back on action at the next meeting.
Okay.
All right. So the next item is item E, and that is the Stokes Adult Care Home Community Advisory Committee.
Thanks, Madam Chair. This Stokes Adult Care Home Community Advisory Committee has asked that Scotty Hooker fill the vacancy on this committee. He has already completed the orientation and the training for this, but we do need to open the floor for further nominations.
All right, I'll,
Make a motion that we close nominations.
all right,
Second.
okay. So I need a motion to nominate Scotty or Hooker.
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 Commissioner Mendenhall's motion was sufficient.
Okay. All right, that's all we need? All right,
We're going to vote on it, Madam Chair.
all right. Hooker,
Hooker.
Hooker.
Hooker, all right. Now we,
Goes to action for the next meeting.
for the next meeting, okay, now we'll go to action, and item A is the SCIF grant statements, and you have the changes that Attorney Browder recommends on the conflict of interest policy, and I'll open the floor for questions and comments.
I liked it with the changes that he recommended.
Okay. Yep, I did too. Is there any other comments or questions? Then I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, item B is the broadband committee list. I need a motion to approve. The whole list, including the two that we added.
Motion to approve the entire list that we had in the beginning and the two we added tonight.
All right.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, that concludes that, and we have to read the rationale for going into closed session.
To consider the initial employment or appointment of an individual to any office or position other than a vacancy in the Board of County Commissioners or any other public body, or to consider the qualifications, competence, performance, character, and fitness of any public officer or employee other than a member of the Board of Commissioners or of some other public body pursuant to General Statute 143-318.11A6.
All right, do I have a motion to go into
Yep,
closed?
based on that rationale, Madam Chair, I make a motion that we got exit open and go into closed.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're in closed session. And audio. Okay, do I have any further motions?
Make a motion that we employ in the health department Marie Stanley, is that correct? As a PA? As a PA?
Yes.
Under the provisions that are in the contract provided to us. Do you need me to list her salary?
You can, yeah, you can, yeah. And we'll also attach a copy of that contract to this meeting's agenda, so it'll be out for public inspection.
At a salary of $116,000, I'm sorry, I'll stop. At a salary of $116,000 per year. And that's all I'm gonna say, and I see Tyler is.
PA,
Uh-huh.
that's her official title. She's a nurse practitioner.
She is, but she's gonna be filling that, they have a vacant PA, the physician extender position.
Yeah, I was.
Position
I
extender
was just-
position.
Yeah.
Position extender position, two, physician extender, two position.
Okay,
Thank you, Ty.
do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good work, people.
Sorry,
Aye.
Ann.